What is up, everybody? My name is Logan Strong. Welcome to CTF Strong Talks Football. I got my little junior executive here. I got my dog Buddy here. Oh, cute boy. He wanted to join us on the intro here. So today I'm going to give you guys my mid-season NFL awards. I did a little Instagram poll on my Instagram asking if I should do this or if I should do my playoff bracket / Super Bowl predictions from mid-season. And the results were actually 50-50, so I did a coin toss on my Instagram, and this won it. So this is what we're doing. So basically, I'm going to go over all the NFL awards that they give out, and I'm going to give you my winner by the mid-season, like my mid-season winners. And also, I made up 6 of my own. So I made up 6 of my own awards, and I'm going to give you the 6 winners of the mid-season awards. And then the only thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to include the Man of the Year award. I feel like that award is way too hard to predict. Like, anybody can win that, and it's like next to near impossible to figure out who's going to win it. So I didn't think it was right to really include that. So other than that one, we're going to go over every single NFL award, including my own, and I'm going to give you all the winners. So before we get started, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos whenever I post. If this post gets at least 50 likes, I'll make sure my dog here gets into another video here. Alright, so with all out of the way, let's get started. So to start off, we're going to go over the awards I made up and my winners of them all. And the first one I've got is so far the most surprising team. And by the way, all these winners are for mid-season, not the full season. Most of these, if not all of them, will probably change by the end of this season. I'm talking about mid-season awards. And so far, the most surprising team to me is the Washington Commanders. I mean, this one's a pretty obvious one, but realistically, like, who thought this team was going to be any good? Who thought this team was going to have 7 wins? Like, who thought Jaden Daniels was going to blossom this quickly into being a star quarterback? Like, none of this was predicted. The Commanders were predicted to be one of the worst teams in the NFL, and they proved us all wrong. It's a pleasant surprise, too, because it's nice to see the Commanders doing well while you have the Cowboys shit in the bed right now. It's great television. They are almost 100% making the playoffs. I think they will actually win a playoff game, and I think the Commanders are going to do pretty good things in the future. So, yeah, they definitely deserve this one. So the next award I've got is the most disappointing team. This one was a little bit more difficult to think of because there's a lot of disappointing teams so far you can think of. You can say the Niners, you can say the Falcons, you can say the Bengals, you can say the Browns, you can say the Jaguars. They wouldn't be really wrong answers. But I had to pick a team that's been an absolute mess ever since week 3, and like it's getting even worse and worse by the season's been going on. And this is most definitely the New York Jets. Like, this team was predicted to go to the damn Super Bowl by some people. Like, that's how highly predicted this team was, like, in the start of the year. Like, if you did not predict this team to go to the playoffs, Jets fans would be attacking you in social media. Like, it's just crazy how high expectations this team has. Like, and at the start of the season, I could see it. Like, look at how much talent they have. They have a good amount of talent. Like, just saying they had Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. They have amazing receivers. They have a great defense on paper. We'll get to that. Like, they were set up for success, but one thing that always has weighed them down, and that's what killed them this part of the season, was coaching. Like, coaching was weighing them down completely, and management. So they started losing more and more games, and I said this before, it was incredibly stupid that the Jets fired Robert Saleh this early in the season. And with him being fired, the Jets defense turned to shit. They turned into once a great defense to one of the worst defenses in the NFL. It's just crazy how much Robert Saleh was an impact to that defense. And then they're like firing the manager. They're starting to talk about how the owner is becoming a problem. Like, they're talking about possibly benching Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's a huge mess over there right now. It's not going great. Like, you take your pick. It's either shitty ownership or this team just has incredibly bad luck. Like, you make your pick. But yeah, the Jets are the most disappointing team easily. And this one will probably not change by the end of the season. The next award I got is the most surprising player. Meaning it's not necessarily like a comeback player, but like a player that did not have high expectations, but has been playing out of his mind or better than he ever has. Like a player that you never thought was going to play well this season. This one was in between two players. One I gave the winner to, and J.K. Dobbins. Like, I wanted to give J.K. Dobbins a shout out because he was expected to get hurt right away, and fingers crossed, he's been really good this year. He's been a very good running back, and he's shown why he got drafted in the first place by the Ravens. But J.K. Dobbins is not the winner here. I gave the winner to Chuba Hubbard. Like, Chuba Hubbard's always been like one of those bad running backs in the league, so like nobody puts expectations on him. And then this year he just blew up, man. Like, look at his numbers. 818 rushing yards so far in the year and 6 touchdowns. He never has had this many rushing yards like to the start of a year before. Like, he has more rushing yards than his entire 2022 season. Like, that's crazy. So far, he's on pace to have his first 1,000-yard rushing season in his career. The highest he's ever gotten is 902 from 2023. So I guess he's been on a little bit of a increase on yardage, but like never to a start like this. Like, Chuba Hubbard's been really good this year. He's been very underrated. Next player I got is the most disappointing player, and there's, again, like the most disappointing team, there's a lot of names that come to mind. There's a lot of notable ones, like Brandon Ayuk. Like, he had that holdout this whole offseason and to do absolutely nothing and then get hurt. Very disappointing. And then you got Justin Tucker, one of the best kickers of all time. And then this year, he's been missing kicks left and right. He's been incredibly disappointing. And then you got small, like, answers like Jordan Love, I guess. And then Tua, even though most of it was not in, like, his nature. Like, he got injured. Like, he couldn't really control it. But there's one quarterback I've been talking about that's been on my mind, and he's been easily the most disappointing player this year. This player was incredible last year. It was his first year in the NFL on a terrible situation from what we were thinking. And he turned his team around the year prior to this one and made it to the playoffs, won a playoff game, and he won Rookie of the Year last year. To think this year was going to be even better, but so far it's been so much worse, and he's not even in the top 20 quarterbacks right now, like, with how bad he's doing. If you've already guessed it, you probably have already known the most disappointing player this year, in my opinion, so far, is C.J. Stroud. Like, he's been dog shit compared to his rookie year. Like, he's been really bad, like, for his standards. He's been falling under the pressure when he's gotten pressured on him. He's been making very dumb throws, very dumb picks, and he's just been struggling to move the ball. And then, I get it, Stephon Diggs being out hurts a little bit, but at the same time, you got star receivers like Nico Collins were coming back. You got Tank Dell. You've got Dalton Schultz. Like, you have all these weapons. Like, why is he not making it work? I'll tell you why. He's been disappointing. He hasn't been the same quarterback as last year. He just hasn't been that good. Joe Mixon has been carrying this offense this year. Even when he wasn't playing, you can already see how more like of a struggling team the Texans have been without him. Like, Joe Mixon has been carrying this offense so far this year. Like, C.J. Stroud's starting to turn into a QB that would never throw an interception to averaging at least one interception every game, it seems like. Like, he's been incredibly disappointing this year. The last two awards I've got here is fantasy football related ones. So the first one I've got is biggest fantasy bust. And if you got the pleasure of drafting number 1 overall, you would already know who that is. The biggest fantasy bust this year is Christian McCaffrey. Especially after the season he had last year, like, man, people first overall got bamboozled. He's been out almost this whole season. He's back now, but so far he has not been that good. It's probably because of their O-line, but he hasn't been that productive. And you got other players like quarterbacks and then other running backs like Derrick Henry and Saquon who've been far better than him. So yeah, if you drafted CMC in fantasy this year, hoping he'd like carry your team, I feel really sorry for you because he's been a bust. And then finally, the last one of my like personal awards until we get to like the NFL related, like the NFL official awards, we've got the fantasy MVP. And let me remind you again, this is mid-season. This is not full season. Like, this will probably change by the end of the fantasy football season. But one thing to note is that quarterbacks have been heavily carrying fantasy this year when it comes to total points. Like, running backs have been good, but quarterbacks have been carrying it all this year. And so far, the best quarterback out of them all and the best fantasy player so far is Lamar Jackson. This dude's been averaging close to like 20 to 25 points per week. Like, he's been incredible. He's been incredibly consistent, even when they're losing. Like, I had this dude last year. I wish I had him this year because he's doing way better than last year. If you have Lamar in your fantasy football team, then you should be set. Like, this dude is going to win people fantasy championships. He's been incredible. All right, so now we got our first official NFL award, and the first one we're going to go over is Coach of the Year. I mean, you can obviously go with like an obvious one, like Dan Campbell or Andy Reid, but you want to be a little bit more interesting. Usually you give this award to a coach that for a team that wasn't expected to do much, but did great things out of it. So 2 names come to mind. So you got Jim Harbaugh and then you got Dan Quinn. Those are my top two candidates this year. And I did describe how surprising the Commanders have been this season. Like, they've been incredible. But the winner, in my opinion, here is Jim Harbaugh. I said the Commanders had no expectations during preseason. The Chargers were far worse. Like, they were expected, some people expected them to be the worst team in football. They had a decent defense, but they had absolutely no weapons on offense, it looked like. Like, nobody thought J.K. Dobbins was going to pop off. Nobody thought that the receivers Justin Herbert were going to improve. Like, nobody thought this offense or this team was going to be any good. And then coming off a national championship for Michigan, Jim Harbaugh makes the call that he is going to be an NFL coach once again, joins the Chargers, and makes great things happen so far this season. The Chargers are 7-3 right now, having one of the best defenses in football. Their offense making things work. Ladd McConkey being one of the best rookies so far this season. J.K. Dobbins having a great season. And then Justin Herbert obviously being great this season. You can say all these players have been great this year and you wouldn't be wrong, but I think Jim Harbaugh has a huge part of how this team has been having so much success so far this season. So Jim Harbaugh is my midseason Coach of the Year. And my next award here is Comeback Player of the Year. I'll go over this one quick. Like, this one was pretty tough to pick, but I had to pick J.K. Dobbins for this one, and so far it's not really close. At the same time, I see the NFL picking guys like either Nick Chubb or Christian McCaffrey, but like, especially for Nick Chubb, like, they haven't done much so far. If they come out, like, again, this is midseason, so these things can change. So if Nick Chubb or CMC finally pop off and like start showing their talents on the last 5 to 6 games of the season, they are going to win this award, especially Nick Chubb. But so far, I think J.K. Dobbins clears the board on this one because every single season he's played, he's shown flashes of greatness, and then he's gotten injured year after year after year. So we've never been able to see it for such a long period of time. And then this year on a new team, he finally has. Like, we've been able to now. Like, we've been able to see how much of a great running back he is. He's quick, he's strong, and he's super fast. Like, he's a great running back. This is like one of those awards where I can heavily see this changing by the end of the season. But so far, I think J.K. Dobbins is my Comeback Player of the Year. The next award is the Offensive Rookie of the Year, and yeah, there's not much to explain. It's Jane Daniels. It's obviously Jane Daniels. Shout out to guys like Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and Malik Neighbors, though. They've been great, too, but Jane Daniels has been far the best, and knowing the NFL, they're going to favor the quarterback on this one, but it's not even that. Like, Jane Daniels has been the best rookie so far this season. Like, so far, he's been incredible. 2,338 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, only 3 picks, and a passer rating of 99.6. Like, he's been great. He's taken this team to heights they haven't seen in decades. Like, this team has been incredible with Jane Daniels, and without him, they would not be the same team as they are now. I would love to see this team win a playoff game when they do make the playoffs. I believe they do. Please, fingers crossed on that one. But I hope to see Jane Daniels win a playoff game and keep his legacy on going as long as he can in the NFL. Washington, you are in good hands. Next one is Defensive Rookie of the Year, and this one's pretty obvious too. It's going to be Jared Verse. The Rams had to make the pick in the first round of the draft to replace Aaron Donald, who was absolutely incredible, one of the best defensive players to ever play the game. But after that sad news, the Rams had to make a pick in the first round to try to replace him. And who did they pick? They picked Jared Verse. So far, I wouldn't say he's like Aaron Donald, but he's so far a pretty dang good replacement from his position. So far, he's got 24 solo tackles. He's got 18 assists, 4.5 sacks. Like, that's a great start for a rookie, especially in a starting spot that replaces Aaron Donald. Like, he might not be the most, like, flashy rookie so far. Like, none of these defensive rookies have so far. But he has been by far the best, and I think he's going to do great things in the NFL. Next award we got is Offensive Player of the Year. And, again, just like fantasy, but a little bit different, the running backs have been carrying, like, offensive stats this season. I mean, receivers have obviously been great because there's so many of them. But the running backs so far have just been the most flashy. They've been the most notable. And the best one so far, and the winner of this award, is Derrick Henry. Everyone thought this dude was out of his prime. He was not going to be anywhere near as good as he used to be. He was done, and he was just trying to fill a role in the Ravens offense. But boy, were people wrong. This is kind of a I told you so moment for me because I knew he was going to be great this season. I didn't think he was going to be this good, but I knew he was going to be great. Like, I knew Derrick Henry wasn't done yet. But yeah, like I said, like, I didn't think he was going to be this great. Like, listen to this. 1,185 rushing yards so far this season and 13 touchdowns. Like, he's been incredible this season. If they wanted to give a non-QB the award for MVP, like, I'd say they give it to Derrick Henry, even though I don't think they will, because if they didn't give CMC the MVP last year, they're definitely not going to give it to Derrick Henry this year. But he's an easy candidate for Offensive Player of the Year, and he's going to win it. This is one of these awards which I don't think is going to change by the end of the year. Like, it could be Saquon, but I think Derrick Henry's been better. He's been easily the Offensive Player of the Year so far this season. Next award we got is Defensive Player of the Year, and this one's a little bit more interesting because there's 3 names that come to mind. And it's been, like, changing, like, depending on, like, what time of the season we're in. Like, there's the start, we were talking about Fred Warner. Like, he's been incredible this season as always. And then you've heard Max Crosby. He's been great, even on a really bad team that the Raiders have right now. And then you got TJ Watt, who's been incredible. Like, he's been all over, like, offenses on the best defense in football this season. He's been incredible. So, as you can already tell, TJ Watt is my Defensive Player of the Year so far. He's been by far the most consistent, and especially the fact that he's on the best defense in football, and he's been a huge part of that. So, he's been incredible this season. Like, listen to this. 36 combined tackles so far, 9 assists, 7.5 sacks. Like, he's been on a roll. Again, it might not sound the flashiest, but we're in the middle of the season right now. This could obviously change. Like, this could either look better, or another player like Fred Warner or Max Crosby could beat a minute out of it. They could end up being better. So far, this is my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. Like, I can see this changing, but so far, this is my winner. And finally, the award you have all been waiting for, the most important one out of them all, Most Valuable Player / MVP. This has always been a very controversial one because a lot of people like to say this is a quarterback-heavy award, which, in my opinion, it is. But it's also, like, opinionated on which one should win. Like, last year's MVP was very controversial. It was Lamar, even though I thought Lamar should have not, like, he was great, but I don't think he should have won it. It should have been Christian McCaffrey because he was by far the best player last year, but Lamar still won it because it is a quarterback-heavy award. But with all that saying, I think the MVP so far this season is a player that has been slept on year after year. Like, everyone knows how great he is, but nobody thinks he's, like, the best. This is a player that has been, like, carrying his team to success. He's been helping this team reach heights that they haven't seen since the 90s and 80s. And he's been absolutely incredible in the process. And he's been arguably the best quarterback so far this season. And I know this name comes up a lot in the last few years in the MVP conversation because he is that great of a quarterback. And it is none other than the great Josh Allen. God, knowing the NFL, they're going to pick Lamar again. But, like, this is my comparison with Josh Allen when it comes to MVPs. I feel like he's the Drew Brees of our generation. Like, he's that player who's always been one of the best quarterbacks in football, but he never gets the MVP award, even when he's been the best quarterback in football. Like, in my opinion, he was last year. Like, this quarterback has been, like, heavily underappreciated. Like, the NFL likes to attract the guys like Mahomes and Lamar and, like, all these other players, like Joe Burrow, too, even though he's been incredible this season. I could see him winning it. But, like, nobody talks about him enough. Like, the Bills were not expected to be this great this season. Like, they lost so much talent on offense and defense. Like, they're looking to take a step down. They're looking to be at least just a wild card team. Like, people predicted the Jets to take the division. How crazy is that? And what has Josh Allen done? He's proved people wrong. He's hurdled heights. He's thrown out of his mind. 2,543 passing yards so far. 18 touchdowns, only 5 picks, and a passing rating of 98.2. He's been incredible so far this season. And if there's any quarterback right now in the NFL that I want to see have a ring other than Joe Burrow, it is Josh Allen, easily. They're probably not going to give him the award because the NFL just doesn't care for Josh Allen as much as Lamar or Mahomes or a little bit of Joe Burrow. But I think Josh Allen deserves this award more than anybody. I think so far he is the MVP. And there you guys have it. Those were my mid-season NFL awards. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This one was a little bit different from what I usually do, but I thought it was pretty fun to do and think about. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't be afraid to let me know in the comments on who you think are going to win these awards and make up your own awards and who the winners are. I'd be very interested to look in those because I like looking at other people's opinions. It makes this sport a lot more interesting. So with all that said, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my videos whenever I post. I'm Logan Sharon. I'll see you next time.